Hi, how you doing? In this class, I'm going to show you how to draw a panther, an eagle head, a snake head, and a dragon head, and pretty much how you can use the same set of skills to draw all four of these things. So, with a panther head, everything is kind of the same as all the other things, it's just the structure is a little bit different. So with a panther head, for instance, I would start with the top of the head and then figure out where the nose is going to go. I'll do like really basic shapes. Here's where the forehead is. Put the eye here. The other eye on the other side of the nose goes there. So this would be the center line of the top of the nose, and then the top of the head. And the ear will come out about there. So these would be the front teeth. Get the fangs in there. Once you get to this point, you got to figure out how wide open the mouth is going to be. So I usually go up a little bit, and then I go out like kind of straight out, and then I'll cut it back and figure out where the bottom fang is going to go. So since this angle is like this with the eyes, I'll match the bottom jaw. Then you just kind of figure out the chin section, and then it goes out. This would be like the cheekbone. This is the back of the jaw. And then there's going to be a transition between the back of the jaw and the chin. And then the neck. We'll just cut the neck off here. You can add a body on later if you feel like it. Then I'll add the bottom teeth. I usually do about 4, you know. A couple molars. Then I'll do the tongue in here. And then the other side of the mouth. And then you can start figuring out the little details that are not as important, but you know, when you set up the structure, they all kind of will go into the right place. You don't want to make the nose too small here. Make the eyes a little bit bigger than in real life. And you got the whiskers. This one's not like super traditional, but it's not realistic either, somewhere in between. All right, so here's like the basic structure of a panther. So if I were to do a snake head pretty much the same way, instead of having like the eyes come down the nose, with a snake, you're not going to see both the eyes from this angle because the head is a little more flat. But just like the way the lip comes up here, on a snake at that same angle, I'll do the same thing. You know, there's just a snake won't, the nose isn't going to be like a cat nose, obviously. And then I'll figure out where the eye area would be. And then once I get to the point like where I was here, you know, go up a little bit higher there. Then you just figure out where the bottom jaw. You don't want to make the bottom jaw too long because, you know, the snake's bottom jaw is a little bit shorter than the upper, because when the mouth's closed, they have a little bit of a underbite. And the fangs would come like right from where the nostrils would be. I'll do the little fangs. Got a little too thick. Okay, and then I'll do a row of scales there if the snake's big enough. If you're doing a tiny snake, you don't want to do too much of the detail. These are based on about the size that I would tattoo it. Then you have this, I usually do a line from the teeth and just bring that tongue out. Almost do the tongue like a flame sometimes. And just do some quick indications of scales there. So as you can see, it's not really, if you can understand the structure of how to do the panther, it's not that big of a leap to do the snake. And I'm going to do them all in the same direction just so that it all makes sense to you. I'm going to For a eagle, say I'll figure out the shape of the top of the head. Obviously they don't have teeth like that, so, but they do have like some kind of thing above their beak. And I also think of the beak as kind of being a hook. So I see a lot of people, they do the eagle beaks like this. Like that looks more like a chicken beak. So with the eagle, I want to do it like really a hook. And then also the bottom of the mouth should be a little bit past the eye. You don't want it to be kind of like the way a snake is. You could bring it back and you imagine that the bottom part of the beak could connect to into the top of the beak there. And just like the snake tongue here, and you know, see like that. And you can go however, you know, whatever kind of feathery stuff that you want to try. So these are all a little bit more simple than a dragon head because a dragon head has a lot of different elements to it. With a dragon head, I usually will start with also the top of the head, but I do a little bit more like sketch, you know, doodling and figure out. So like here would be the eye. This is the space between the eyes. So I got like the top of the head here. Just like the panther, here's like the top of the head line. You know, they have, you know, the spikes. And once I get to this point, I try to figure out, okay, which way do I want to have the nose? And with dragons, I kind of like to lift the nose up a lot of the time. I don't know why. I just think it makes them look a little bit more intense. So this would be like the upper lip. And then I'll add the nose right here, the other nostril. So like the nose is like really lifted, the nose is like really lifted up. But it's still going to be on the same axis as the eyes. There's a lot of different ways to do the spikes or whiskers or whatever you want to call it. Some people like to do them rounded. Some people like doing them thick or skinny or long. You know, dragons are imaginary, so you can do them. I mean, almost every tattoo thing is very stylized. So you can really style it any which way you want. I'm supposed to do the dragon's eyes last, but I'm going to put them in anyway. And then you got to figure out where you're going to put the whiskers. So I usually put them coming out right behind where the whiskers would be. And they can really go anywhere. Depends on which way you figure. You got the wind blowing. Sometimes people like to have them go back. You can have them go forward. There's no real rules. And I never heard of any actual rule to drawing dragon heads or Japanese ones, because nobody's probably ever seen a real one. But usually the fangs would be hidden underneath the mustache. Okay, and then you got to figure out where would the jaw be. And a lot of people like to do give it a big underbite. So we can try that. Give it a big fang right here. Maybe a small one there. So we're going to give this one an underbite. So the bottom jaw is actually longer than, say, like a snake, panther, or eagle. Dragons don't follow the same rules. And then add the spikes in there. So I go like a little bit bigger on the edges, and then I kind of follow the line of the bottom lip, and then I bring it out and then in again. So you can go as intricate or as simple as you want. You could do half as many spikes as I'm doing now, or you can do, you know, twice as many. If you draw it good, it'll look cool. And I'll kind of bring these around. I'll do the tongue almost the same way as the panther here. And do some teeth on the bottom. And then usually I'll do some smaller spikes around the jaw, and then I'll start adding a row of bigger ones. Then I'll add one more just to make it a little bit longer around the edges. And then right about here, I'll kind of start the ear. I'll make it kind of a wobbly. And then it's almost like when I draw like a flower petal. You know, imagine like a flip, you know, so these would be like the contour lines of the ear. And another thing I always do is I imagine that the shape of the jaw is where the neck comes from. So this would be the top of the head, and this would be the top of the neck would come down into the head. So the belly scales would start from there. And then the horns come out right behind the ear. And they go about the same trajectory as the eyes, you know. So this one, these would be like the thick parts of the horn. And this one kind of I'm gonna have them spread out a little bit. And then they have an extra piece to the horn that goes like that. And this would come a little bit past the head, but on this side you wouldn't see that. So since the eyes are on this plane, this would actually be on that same plane too. So this would be the top of the extra spike of the horn. But since it's on this side of the head, you know, maybe I'll move it back a little bit. Then you have the back spikes. So I mean, dragons, they do have a lot of elements, but once you break it down, it definitely makes it less complicated. You know, you can add hair. So that's basically how I work out a dragon head. I'll ink this for you too, so you can see it's not, these aren't as scribbly as the dragon, because the dragons, you know, you get a lot of stuff going on. It can get quite messy. That's why I don't really freehand them all that much, because with all those lines going everywhere, it can, once you start wiping when you're tattooing, get to be a huge mess. You can get quite wobbly with the head, you know, they're bumpy. The horns too, you can go pretty bumpy with them. Sometimes I'll do it bumpy and then I'll straighten, then I'll get the line more like straight as I go. And then towards the head it gets more gnarly. Make the ears a little floppy. All right, so I hope that it made sense to you how I kind of tied them all together, because once you start drawing them all a lot, you'll start to notice the similarities. Even though there are like major differences, it's really just the structure of the type of animal, but everything else is the same. Hope you learned something. Thanks for watching. Peace.